Excelente, joven, etcétera.
Thrill me.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Horror Flicks and Guitar Picks podcast. I'm your host, Tim, and today I'm joined by the one and only Chris Cesarini of the band Street Power, Conservative Military Image, Mental Warfare, and Back of the Neck. How's it going, man? Thank you for joining the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And of course, speaking of Mental Warfare, the one I fucked up on, you guys just dropped a killer ass new record, along with like recent releases and then like the back half of the year. Do you have anything you want to promote or let the people know about before going into the horror stuff?
Stuff coming out. CMI is supposed to have a record. It's being worked on, but we're always on the road, so it's really tough to like really focus on getting a record done. But there's so many songs in the pipeline. It's just gotta like get officially recorded. Mental Warfare has a whole nother record already ready to go. And I just started writing, I probably got like 3 or 4 new Street Power songs already recorded. So
Fuck yeah. No, I know what you mean. It's especially you got like, several projects. It's like when you're trying to tour with, with one of them, it's hard to write for the other ones and this and that and stuff. So
yeah.
hell yeah. No, I enjoy pretty much all 4 of the projects. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't listened to much of Back of the Neck yet, just because I was checking out all the projects to before the interview and stuff. But I did dig what I heard so far.
Yeah, Back of the Neck is like I'm not an original member, but the guys in that band I've known forever, and I kind of like got them to do it again. So it's like one show a year type deal. And actually, the past few shows I haven't even been able to play with them because I've been on the road with CMI or Street Power. So
Yeah, no, hell yeah. Now, and then of course, the kind of segue into the horror side of things. What was your relationship with horror movies growing up, and did it change at all as you got older and became an adult?
So when I was a kid, I loved it. Like, there's some people. I'm going to preface this by saying, like, some of my friends as adults got super into it and like way more into it than I ever was as a kid, and it kind of, as an adult, ruined horror for me. Um, like it became an entire personality. I get it. Like hardcore is my personality, so like people could say the same thing about me. So, but when I was a kid, I used to watch all kinds of stuff with my mom. Like even just like one of the first, I wouldn't even consider it really horror, but like Jaws was like my first introduction to like to a horror movie, And I'm talking like I was probably 5 or something, and then Child's Play. Child's Play was a big one when I was a kid. I remember sitting on the couch. My mom would let me watch all this stuff, So I'd be like 5, 6, 7 years old watching Child's Play, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, all the classics.
Hell yeah. No, those and Child's Play is even like that's the one that really scares you as a kid too, because like Leatherface, you got to go out to his house and fuck with him. Michael Myers, he fucks with mostly like older like teenagers and stuff. But Chucky's not only fucking with kids, but you got dolls in your room or like at least stuffed animals and stuff that like are similar enough that you're like fuck that thing. If that thing comes to life, I'm screwed. Like,
yeah.
no,
Yeah, I actually, my stepdaughter is getting into like horror movies pretty good. She actually like took cardboard and made her own Good Guys like box that Chucky would go in. It was pretty creative. So I showed her Child's Play, and she loved it. So
fuck yeah. No, my son, he's only 4 and he's seen Child's Play as well, but he's doesn't get interested in the movie itself. He gets interested in like the more action-packed scenes. So like he checked out before it even really got scary though. Like he was more into Leprechaun since he's like being goofy and shit like that the whole movie. Where Chucky
yeah,
takes like the sequels and stuff. So
Leprechaun was a big one too when I was a kid. I remember like Leprechaun in the Hood.
yeah,
There was all different ones. It was kind of like Ernest. They had all the different Ernests. It was like same thing with Leprechaun. But yeah, that was one I saw often too. Definitely would rent it like the VHS from the video store when I was a kid.
yeah. Now I love the Ernest films as well, and Ernest Scared Stupid is one that I return to like every October for sure, especially because it's on like YouTube. I think like somebody ripped it and threw it up there. So
Oh, is it?
yeah, you can find like a good 4K rip up there for sure. I'll just send it over to you.
Oh, I didn't know that. I would love to see. I haven't seen it, and I couldn't even tell you. That one and Ernest Goes to Camp were my 2 favorites.
Oh yeah, same. Those two and I think to round out the top three, it would be Ernest Goes to Prison would be just because the evil Ernest, but
I don't remember that one as much.
that's the only thing I remember about it is that they had like an evil Ernest, and it was like Jim Varney playing like a suave version of Ernest. It was almost like, the Urkel and Stefan, the whole thing.
Yeah.
No, hell yeah. Well, speaking of favorite Ernest movies, what's some of your favorite horror movies of all time? I know you mentioned Child's Play and, Texas Chainsaw being some of the first ones you saw, but and I think you mentioned what your favorite one was to me in the chat, before recording and everything. But do you have and you don't, I know you have one that probably stands out as your number one, but feel free to shout out, like a few favorites, not just the top spot.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, like my brain wants to go to like the classics, right? I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like I think, watching them now as an adult, it's kind of like it's funny.
Yeah.
But I back when I was a kid, those are my favorite, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre ones. Because like, that was like the only thing I knew about Texas was from that movie at the time. I literally just got back from there a couple days ago. And it was just I think one of my first times watching that was at my friend's sixth birthday party, and we had like a tent set up in his room, and this is like an apartment complex. But yeah, his parents like rented all three of the Texas Chainsaw Massacres and just let us 6-year-olds watch it.
Yeah.
I would say I forget which one I'm like blanking. I forget which one I talked to you about already, but I would probably say Texas Chainsaw series is probably my favorite.
It might have even been you or I was the same time I messaged you, I messaged somebody else, and both of y'all were down, but the other person kind of we stopped like communicating, like he just stopped kind of hitting me back and stuff. So it might have been him that said it, and I might just be mistaken, but I think it was The Shining was the one that was mentioned. I wasn't sure if it was you that said that was one of your
Yeah,
favorite ones.
I was never big on that one.
Okay, hell yeah, that's my bad then. I just got mistaken because like I said, it was like the same time I hit you up, I hit him up, and it was another guy from like a hardcore band that I'm really into, and now I can't remember who the fuck it was, but uh, definitely, hopefully, still have him on the show. But no, that was my bad. I just got him mixed up. But no, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of my favorites as well. I actually really like Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part Two just because it adds the like fun aspect of everything, on top of like the scariness
Yeah,
of the family and stuff. So
yeah, it was really good. Like when they got like the grandfather trying to hit with the hammer hit the girl with the hammer over the head. It was just so creepy, like. I don't know. I was like, man, if I ever see a house that looks like that, I'm running as fast as possible. I actually became a butcher. I was a butcher in a slaughterhouse for multiple years, probably like 5 years or so, and um, that's all I could think about half the time when I was working there.
yeah.
Was like, am I Leatherface now?
Holy shit. No, that would be fucking that would be hard to like, not think of that movie the whole time, especially being a fan and everything, you know what I mean? But that's a weird not a weird gig, but like a crazy gig to have, you know what I mean? So that's awesome to know somebody that's worked in one.
Yeah, it was a terrible job.
I know that's what I mean is like it's not awesome to know that you worked in one because of that, but like of course like if to know somebody that could like relate that stuff, you know what I mean? Like if I ever was like, hey, is this accurate? You could be like, fuck no, that should never happen, you know what I mean? Type thing. So
Yeah, yeah.
no, hell yeah. But speaking of Texas Chainsaw, that's kind of carried on through the years. It's gotten so many remakes and stuff, and they've even made a horrible one back in like 2022. Do you have any like kind of recent horror films over the past like decade or so that have really stuck out to you? And they don't got to be favorites, but just stuff that you've like enjoyed. Maybe you caught it like on a date night or with friends or anything like that, or even on tour.
Um, I don't know about the past decade, but like I thought House of a Thousand Corpses was great. I
Yeah.
thought Devil's Rejects was great. Um, I would consider are those considered horror movies?
Oh yeah, definitely. I would consider
All
them horror
right.
movies. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say those. I don't. Those are older than a decade, but I don't really know anything too recent as far as I got. At some point, I switched over to just like if I put a movie on, I'm asleep in 5 seconds. I don't know if that's what happens after you become a dad. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So, um, a lot of the remake stuff is usually pretty decent. I heard that one that you just said, the Texas Chainsaw one. I haven't seen it, but I heard it was bad.
No, it was one that like it was fun enough to watch. Like I didn't hate that I watched it, but I'm like I'm never watching this shit ever again. That's for sure. Like No, I was surprised that they even they keep rumoring that they're gonna make another one and that all these people have like the rights always get tossed around and stuff, but I'm like they can't make a good new one. They haven't made a good new one since like I think the remake was decent back in like 2003, but that's 22 years ago now, so it's like shit, but
Yeah. I really don't know much. See, like if you were to like mention new movies that I might have seen, I, see, I don't know. I don't really go to the movie theater often. If I do, it's like kids movies, you know?
yeah. No, I know what you mean. That's like me and my wife, the only reason I get out to horror movies is we swap stuff. She'll go to some like pop punk show I don't really care about and I'll like watch my son and then like I'll be like, "Oh, I'm going to see fucking this crazy horror movie or whatever." So like she's going to Turnover Saturday. So I'm like, can you watch the kids so I can do an interview Thursday night?" You know what I mean? So
Oh, yeah, that should be a good show though.
oh no, definitely. I like Turnover, and I'm from like North Carolina, like but like close to the Virginia border, so I grew up like going to shows in Virginia Beach, so it's like a hometown show for them. You know what I mean? So it's
Oh yeah,
uh,
I love playing down there. Virginia Beach is awesome.
fuck yeah. No, they that's my favorite place. That's where I go to shows a lot, but at like I mean, you have three kids. It's like once you have a kid, it's hard to get out and do stuff, you know what I mean? Like especially like, shows and this and that. So,
Yeah.
oh yeah. No, but of course, on the back end of the show, I like to ask a few hypothetical questions, and then one question that ended all that I ask all my guests. But the first of the hypothetical questions, if you could ever score a horror movie, what kind of subgenre would you like to score? Would it be slasher, like an alien sci-fi horror film, or even like a supernatural type horror film, or any other subgenre?
Um, I kind of like realism stuff, like serial killer stuff. So maybe like some type of slasher. Oh, sorry. Scream was probably like my most recent favorite movie when I was still like actively like seeking out horror stuff. Like the Scream series, like when that first came out, I loved it.
Oh yeah,
I think I was Ghostface for Halloween like 3 years in a row, right? When I was a kid. So I loved Scream. But yeah, back to answer your question, I would probably do something like that where it's like realistic, like serial killer themed.
yeah.
So probably a slasher.
Oh yeah. No, those would be like the funner ones, and like kind of would fit with like a hardcore, just heavier like tone and stuff as well. If you wanted to go with like more of the type of stuff you're like already used to writing, you know what I mean? You wouldn't have to like go, or you could go synthy with it, as well as like give it that 80s tone and stuff. So many ways you could go with a slasher. You don't have to go like there's not like one set path where like some of the other stuff I feel like you're always like with a psychological or supernatural, you're always expecting just dark, ominous tones. You know what I mean? There's not very many options. So.
Yeah, I guess like the horror spectrum is much bigger than I realize it is. Because I'm like, well, is this movie a thriller or a horror movie? Um,
Yeah.
there's I guess they're kind of like one and the same, right? For the most part, like a thriller, I don't know. I guess it'd be more like born supremacy type stuff. And then, would you say like, have you seen that movie Green Room?
Yeah. No, I love Green
Would you
Room.
consider Would you consider that a horror movie?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. It's like I feel like thriller always has like it's thriller, but then there's always something else before it. Like the Bourne movies, I would say are like action thrillers, where Green Room I'd say is like a horror thriller. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
because of like especially because of the way that they're willing to go there with the violence. Like when his hand gets hacked up, that shit's fucking rough to see when he pulls it back through,
Well,
man.
that's what I was thinking. I was like, well, that's got to be considered a horror movie, right?
Yeah.
All right, so that's a more recent one that I think is great too. Then.
Fuck yeah. That's one of my favorites. We did like movies that were snubbed by the Oscars and I put the Ain't Rights, like the fictional band in it. I put their song up for it, which I think was written by some of the dudes from Toxic Holocaust, if I'm not mistaken. So it would have
Oh,
like
really?
they would have gotten the Oscar, of course, but no, it's fucking no, I love that movie. It's one that I recommend to people often because it's like a realistic situation, but the movie's just tense from start to finish. Like you get to know the characters, for the first like 10 minutes, and then boom, you're thrust into just like tension for like an hour and a half. So
Yeah, I think it's really good. The first time someone that was like, "Oh, you got to watch this movie," and I was watching. I was like, "Oh shit, this is crazy." Yeah, it's good. So
yeah.
that, yeah, horror thriller is what you would call it, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's more my speed.
Hell yeah. Now, thriller is one that like most thriller movies, like I would throw in the horror subject, like I would throw in horror as well. But I am with you. There are like action thrillers that are like nowhere near horror. You know what I mean? They're still like, for instance, the movie Ransom with Mel Gibson from the fucking 90s. Like that's technically a thriller, but you wouldn't call it horror at all. You know, so no. But most like, but like movies like Seven, you know, like some people say that's thriller. I'm like that's pretty much just a horror movie. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So. But no, hell yeah. And then my second of the hypothetical questions is if somebody approached you and, just wanted you to make a music video based on one of your favorite horror movies, kind of remake it into like a short, film version for like a music video, which horror movie would you choose and how would you do it with like you and the guys featured in it?
Um, it'd be funny to do would probably be like like Halloween, right?
Oh yeah.
Just because Michael Myers never runs,
Yeah.
so it's like I feel like you can make it kind of comical at the same time, where it's like, as fast as this person's running, he's just always there walking,
Yeah.
So it would probably be something like that, where someone in the video is being chased, like, and then you have like a Michael Myers just following them at a normal speed, but this person running can like it's almost like they're running in place.
Yeah.
So
You show them
I think
stop at
that
like
would be funny.
show them stop at a 7-Eleven and try to get like a hot dog or something and like the whole time they're like hurry the fuck up. Michael's like he's gonna walk over here eventually like like you
Yeah,
got
he's waiting to
time, but
cross the street. He's waiting for the crosswalk.
yeah. Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be fucking funny as shit. That kind of there's a movie that, it was a serious tone, but there's a movie called it's either Blood Stained Red or like Sand Stained Red or something like that, but or It Stained Red, but it's about a girl that gets like trapped in the desert and there's a zombie that's like following her. And I want to say she's either like for some reason she's attached to it. I can't remember if she's handcuffed or whatever. It's been forever since I've seen it, but the zombie moves very slowly. And so she just has to slowly like move away from it throughout the desert or whatever, you know what I mean? She doesn't have to like, haul ass, but at the same time she's like being chased by a zombie. So it kind of reminded me of that. So if you're ever looking for like a interesting take on like, using that slow moving, creature in a unique way, definitely check out that movie. But I think it's called the Sands Stained Red or Blood. I'll look it up and send it over your way before like when we're
That
off of
look
this. But
that sounds pretty that sounds pretty good, because like eventually the human has to go to sleep or it's going to shut down.
yeah. What else?
So
And you're in the sun with no
inevitably,
water.
yeah, inevitably that zombie's gonna get her.
Yeah. No, yeah. Now then pretty much my last question I like to ask all my guests is do you have a horror story of your own? And it could be from, a show gone wrong, like Green Room or something like that, which obviously not necessarily that situation, but or it could just be something in your personal life that was scary as shit. And if you have a paranormal story, you're more than welcome to share that as well.
Um, Let me think of something good. So, a horror story. Um, I guess all right. So, working at the slaughterhouse, I would be cutting sometimes fresh meat on the bandsaw, right? And people would ask to cut some of it into tiny, tiny pieces. Now, it's a bandsaw, like that's meant to cut through bone and meat. So, I was, and when the meat is fresh, sometimes the saw will pull it down, so it pulls your fingers in. Um, and I got you can't even tell now, but like the tip of my finger is crooked here. It's like bent.
Yeah.
Um, I was holding it on. They were like, "Oh, can you cut it smaller?" Now I'm holding a piece of meat and bone that's this big, and I go to run it through, and it pulls my finger in and cuts like pretty much a quarter of the tip of my finger off. But it was like shooting blood everywhere, all over their stuff. I hit the emergency stop on the saw, and I'm like, I'm just pissed that I allowed that to happen, but it hurt so bad. But it wasn't like it looked a lot worse than it hurt. And one of my coworkers brought out this blood clot powder,
Yeah.
and that was way worse. That hurt so bad. But yeah, eventually, I mean, there was so much blood on the machine and from the meat and from me cutting myself. And I said, I don't know if I contaminated your shit. I'm sure it is. I'm like, half of it's in the box over here, so that's fine. But they're all the stuff that's sitting on the side is probably no good. They
Yeah.
did not care. They still took it home.
Oh fuck.
They said they were going to watch it. So they had my blood. They don't know where I've been. What, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
so, so I think that was the plot twist at the end is them taking home the contaminated bloody meat and definitely ate it for sure.
Somebody starts chewing on a fingertip, all of a sudden they're like, God, this is extra gamey.
Yeah, dude, it was such a small portion, but enough to where like it it was definitely past the point of a normal cut on your finger. It was a sauce, so it was like not it wasn't like a knife slice. It was jagged and gross.
Yeah. No, I know. I kind of know what you mean.
So I'm,
When I was like before I was even born, like or I might have been like 2 or 3 or whatever. My mom, she used to work in a deli and she sliced the tip of her finger off like on a slicer, and she showed me
oh
pictures of her like stitches and stuff before, and I was like, oh, that like luckily luckily because of the slicer the way it was, like her piece of like finger was still on the slicer, so she got it stitched back on and everything, but it was like she like. And it was just like the enough that it like took a little fingernail with it, like she's got a complete fingernail now, but uh it's one of those things where it's like she definitely don't feel nothing in that fingertip, that's for sure.
yeah, so the tip of mine too. It doesn't really have a ton of feeling in it either.
Yeah.
So I can relate for sure.
No, hell yeah. That's crazy as shit.
Um,
Luckily it was just a tip. That's what she said.
another quick one, and this is funny, and I'll show you why. So I was this was during COVID, and I was probably playing Call of Duty, super drunk at like 1 in the morning, and I was scrolling on Instagram between the games, and this person that I met, who's an incredible artist, paints a lot of like horror themed stuff. Um, Posted a painting of Michael Myers for sale, an oil on canvas. I have it. I'll show you in a sec. Um, so at the time, I was like, well, I'm not into horror, but the painting looked so eerie and cool. I was like, I have to have it. So I forget what he told me. My wife was not happy about the purchase, especially because it was for, you know what I mean, like a painting. She's like, "What? Why do you need this?"
Yeah.
But I ended up buying another oil on canvas off of him too. It's like the skull thing over on this side. So one of my friends, this room that I'm in is like my recording studio, right? Like also my man cave, whatever you want to call it. But I have the painting hanging up. So one of my friends thought that I was just like a big horror fan. So he went and got me this crazy like Friday the 13th like decorative, excuse me, skateboard. So there, I have some stuff up in here that's horror themed for sure.
Oh fuck yeah. That's awesome. Nah. That's that thing up there is like a little painting or whatever, the one that's like all the different characters and stuff.
Oh
It's hard for me
yeah,
to point out, but no, that's one that I got speaking of my mom, she did that for me as a gift. So I don't know, fuck yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome.
That's the Michael Myers one. It looked so cool when I was sorry, hold on. It looked so cool when I saw it. So I was like, I have to have that thing.
No, hell yeah. No, I like the colors of it, the like the green on it and stuff. Hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I'm pretty much I was thinking about it and that's why I was like checking my phone a little bit, but I wasn't trying to obviously like check my phone because we were talking and stuff. But I think it was Chris from Missing Link was the one that said that he liked The Shining, and that's why I got confused because it's Chris, you know what I mean? That's why I was like, oh shit. But
Oh yeah. I mean, The Shining's okay. It's just like I just never really got super into it. I guess when I was younger, I wanted more of like the bloody slasher type stuff,
yeah.
like like where there was like a character like Michael Myers or like Jason or like Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger, I forgot. Nightmare on Elm Street was also a big one I loved when I was a kid too.
Hell yeah. No, Nightmare on Elm Street was a big one for me when I was younger, and Scream is actually my favorite horror movie. I meant to say that when you mentioned it, so I was stoked that you shouted out Scream. But no, Shining's one for me that I understand it being on like greatest horror movie of all time list and this and that, but it's same here for me personally. It's not one of my favorites, but I definitely like the movie and will watch it from time to time. But it's not one that like if I was gonna rattle off my top 10 favorite horror movies, it's not even gonna be in my top 10 or even 20 probably. So.
Yeah.
No, hell yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you for joining me. It was a blast chatting with you, and I'm stoked to check out the new music as it drops, later this year.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. And then for anybody listening, just make sure you like, subscribe, you leave a comment, whatever's clever for whoever you're listening, and stay safe.